Yo, yo, yo. Good morning. What is going on, people? How we doing today? Good, good. Let's go. How are you today? Good, good. How are we? Connor, how we doing? Patrick, Alexis, hey man, Rohan, Gabe, how we doing, guys? Naveen, Mark, Howell, Ramon, SR, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, we will definitely talk about Bruno. Hey, James wouldn't sell Bruno. Riley, hope you all doing well today. Zorobi, Mikkels, hopefully with Bruno's $65 million a year contract, he can pay off the rest of Wyland's contract. Good morning, James. Zorro, I'll just call you Zorro, right? Hamza, Jeff, AL, Sammy, 50, all of you. Good to see you all. Lamuel, how we doing? Finally can make a live. Good to see you. Britannic Might, Simon, welcome. While we're getting going, obviously, thank you for being here. Make sure to click a like on the thing. Click. And, click, help. We're going to talk about a lot. We are going to talk about a lot. Yeah, we're going to talk about a lot. We'll talk about the whole Bruno thing. I want to know, obviously, besides my opinions, what are all your opinions? Have Bruno buy out the Glazers. Bruno's pure profit. Yes, but we'll talk about it. Why can't they just buy the Glazers out? Not the Zorobi again. I know. We'll just say Zorro. What a timing for Bruno rumors. I know. Bruno meltdown. Just kidding. He's staying. You're at the office today. Don't you film? Yeah, I do the watch-alongs and the weekends and evenings and stuff. Dreams can't be buy. Bruno gonna fund the stadium. What would Bruno's book value be? He does still have a book value. For what it's worth, it would be, let's see, he got 3 years after a contract. We paid a lot. But not a lot. It's a couple million. It's a few million. What's my actual job? It's in marketing and all sorts of shit like that. Live to break the news of Bruno leaving. That's right. Today, May 6th, on a Tuesday. Bruno Fernandes is leaving to Saudi mid-season. He's gone. I'm a stripper. Whoa. For me, I would leave the decision in the player's hands. Well, that's part of the reality. If we sell Bruno for like 150 million, can we spend on transfers like 150 times 5? In theory, but no, not really. No, because you'd need that 150 every year to spend that kind of money. What time is it where you are? It's 11:53 in the morning, so not quite noon yet. Try to get everything done in the morning. But yeah, please, a few hundred people here. Please do like the stream. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. I got over, let's see, how many did we get to? We got to 26,000 subscribers. It's been growing leading into summer. Means a hell of a lot to me. Very much does. I'm looking for that 50,000. I'm hoping 50,000. When you get like a plaque, then I can put a little plaque up or something like that. I don't know. Your merch is almost here. Yeah. So can all of yours. Mine is too. I'm getting a hat. I'm getting the Make United Great Again hat to wear on my streams. So yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, we'll talk about Milinkovic-Savic, the old ex-United player. Milinkovic-Savic, academy graduate. Milinkovic-Savic. In theory, what would spending 150 every year even look like? You got to think about it, though. If we lose Europa, we'll look at it. We'll look at it. We will. We'll look at the details of it. But I want to talk reality. In terms of the truth. The truth is important. There's been a lot of yap the last few days. You realize that, right? Yeah, I got a lot the last little bit. One thing that happened, Ant, is I got a free credit from Google to like an ad credit. So I just used it to promote one of my videos, and it actually got a lot of people, which is interesting. Yeah. There was another Savage we always get linked to. I know, this one's the real one. This one's the real one. But look, I got a lot to talk about today. We'll talk about Bruno. We'll talk about alternatives that we're still discussing for Liam Delap. We'll talk about the goalkeeper situation. As of course, as you know, it feels like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. When was it, the whole De Gea thing? I sat there all season saying, we're looking at keepers, we're looking at keepers, we're looking at keepers. And it feels like that again. It feels like that again. So, but now at least it's confirmed by Fabrizio. We're looking at keepers. We're looking at keepers. So we'll talk about that. We'll get some yap, and then we'll discuss. We will discuss Bilbao as well. Look, all right, on Bruno. First, I want to talk about the truth, okay? First, we want to talk about the truth. Then we can talk about our opinions. I'll do some polls. I will share my views. I will share my views. You can share your views. We can look at what a team would even look like if we sold Bruno, and I will tell you what we would have to do. In my mind, conditionally, to even consider it at this point in time, which is a big shift from me, because I did not think this way not that long ago about Bruno, but he has for me completely changed in everything. So I shared this morning as well, in terms of, you know, the truth of the matter, but I also just want to say it again. What's really important, number one, according to Daily Mail and others, and I'm quite certain this is true, there is no release clause in Bruno Fernandes' contract for 60 million. That's been denied already by the Nathan Salt and Chris Wheeler over there. And you know, I didn't believe for a second that there was a release clause in there. I don't think that there is, and if they've turned it down, if they've already reported on it pretty much that definitively, then I would be quite certain that it is true, because I know where they would be, who they'd be asking, where they'd be getting that kind of stuff from, and it's as good as true. I wouldn't doubt the reporting on that in the slightest if they've been able to report that there's no release clause. There's no release clause. If they're saying so, it definitely believe that 100%. So the other factor is United do not want to sell. I mean, it's that simple. He's not for sale. They do not want to sell. They haven't been planning. You have to bear in mind, it's not like they've been planning with the money to spend from a sale like Bruno. It's not like that's, you know, they could just, oh, we get 150 million, and then what happens? You haven't prepared a whole year for something like that. Who do you go get? What actually happens? Is it the right player? This is how you end up making mistakes, is in these kinds of situations. So, you know, they're not planning. So the truth is, according to these good sources over there, no release clause. United don't want to sell him. And from his perspective, what I can say is that when he got a new contract last year, he'd already held discussions with Saudi, with Bayern, with Barcelona, with multiple other clubs. And there was a moment that he looked like he would leave last year. We spoke about it back then, that there was a sincere chance that he could at that point in time, but he made the decision at that time not to go anywhere. He made the decision to reaffirm for the future. He asked, you know, Ineos and the management, and had discussions with them over the security of his future. And, you know, in that respect, you know, he made the call to stay. And since that point in time, there have been absolutely, you know, no discussions over him leaving between him and the club at this point in times. There's been none. There's been no discussion over him leaving right now. He's not spoken with it. He's not discussed with them about leaving. They've not discussed with him about leaving. He has, in very recent times, held many discussions with the club about what next season would look like, what their intentions would be. reaffirming between both of them their ambition to go forward. It's been fundamental as part of, working on these transfers early, as we have been on recruiting the players that we have. On the whole plan to be able to spend money even without Europe, a fundamental part of that is things like, hey, we need to be showing that ambition to grow and go towards the future. In addition to that, Amram is secure in his position as manager and is being backed with the squad with the transfer spending and with the squad and with building for next year. And Bruno's his guy. I mean, he's his number one guy in the team. So it's not really about the money, and I understand the concept of the money aspect of it, but it's not about the money. Let me ask you a question. If someone went and paid 150 million for Yamal, would Barcelona sell him? They need money. Would they sell him for 150, and should they? Would Madrid sell Jude Bellingham for 150 million right now? Would City sell Erling Haaland for 150 million right now? No, they wouldn't, because there's a time to sell and a time not to sell. If United had no money, you'd have to consider it, right? Because you'd have to say that it's not just because it's Yamal. It's not just because it's that. It's not just because of his age. It's because what is that going to do for you to sell? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. What is it going to do for you to sell? If we don't have money, then we should consider it, right? If we didn't have the money to spend, PSG declined 300 million, right? It's not that big a consideration. Because what you're really saying is, can you get better or not over the next 3 or 4 years? If you think Bruno is a year away from falling off, then it is a consideration. But if you think Bruno is going to be doing 3 or 4 years, then what's the point? What's the point of doing it? It's not about the 31 years old. I mean, 31. We acting like 31 is finished. Like, that's not really the case. 31 years old is not finished. Like, what are we saying here? Selling him is a setback in that respect. But regardless, the truth of the matter is he's not told the club of any intentions to go. He's not done anything like that. They've held discussions about things moving forward. The club have all talked about moving forward. The club have all talked about the next season and everything that they're building together. So, you also have to bear in mind from his perspective, why would he leave us to join Saudi when his ambition is to win trophies and titles in Europe? Why would he do that? Does that really make the most sense for him? You know what I mean? Is that really the thing that sets him apart? Like I said, if you didn't have money, then you should do it. But we do. We have the ability to spend, and we have other players to sell as well. That's the fact of the matter. We have other ways to raise funds. We have other ways to raise funds. We have other ways to make money. We have other ways to get things. Plus, we have Champions League. We got sold Casemiro 70 million, who had 1 good season left in it. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money. But look, I want to ask you this: like, what has ever given you the impression that Bruno Fernandes is a guy who is just going to go for the money? Like, what gives you that impression? Right, and that was why I put this out, which was why I said that, which is an interesting test of United fans. We can shame people in the comments who do not understand the reference. We could shame people. We could shame people who are casual fans that have not, apparently, are just not that in, you know? Um, dreams can't be buy, you know? His agent is his brother-in-law, by the way, okay? You have to bear in mind, his agent is the brother of his wife. And their family's all settled in Manchester, happy and all of that. I promise you, his brother-in-law is not going to be pushing his wife and him to uproot their entire lives, you know, for nothing, okay? He'll be okay. He'll be okay. He's not gonna. It's a different relationship there. You also have to bear in mind it's the same agency as that represents Ruben Amorim now. It's the same. We won't have a Coutinho movement. Well, there's a difference there as well. I don't know if Bruno's wife will like the Saudi life. I don't know, man. Lots of people offended by my grammar. I know. Look, it's an agent's job. You know, it's an agent's job. That's the point. It's an agent's job to do their diligence and things like that. You know, what if United turned around and said, we don't want you? You know what I mean? What if United turned around and said, we'll sell you for 80 million? You know, get out of here. You know what I mean? It's an agent's job to be prepared. It's an agent's job to be ready. But the point I'm trying to make here is that the difference between us and like the Coutinho moment for me is, first of all, the finances are different, right? 150 million back in 2016 could get you everything. You know, that was like, it was huge. It was an explosion in the market. It was 150. Coutinho wasn't nearly as good as Bruno, by the way. He just wasn't, obviously. But there was also a difference there in terms of where Liverpool were at, where we're at, and where we're going. You know, but the point is, you can keep bringing up more money. You can keep saying more money. But who? How do you make the team better? You know what I mean? Like, how do you actually make the team better? And that's the point I want to make. Let's just take a look for a second. Who says he's negotiating? You can say that there's no smoke without fire, except Saudi said they're signing Salah. Saudi said they're signing Messi. Saudi said they're signing 100 different players. And they make all this huge noise and stink coming out of Saudi media, and then they don't, you know, they don't get most of those guys. You know, they didn't do that. You know, it's not like that's normal. There was tons of smoke around all of these players, right? And then nothing happened with many of them. You know, that's not really how it works when you have essentially state-run clubs and state-run media. They say what they want, you know? Whether it's true or not is fine, but they say what they want. Yeah, they got Ronaldo, and then they stopped paying huge money for old players after a little while, you know? But I just want to show you my point on this, all right? Because I think people are just vastly, you know, underrating the issue here on this. Because first of all, you only get that money once, okay? You get that money one time, all right? You get that money one time. It's not like you have it for the rest of eternity to spend this money. And I'm gonna pull up the team here in a second and like show you what our lineup is, and then I'll tell you what my point on this is right now. All right. And then we can feel free. Yeah, they said they want us at Rashford too and all that. We can feel free to disagree and all of that. But this is what I think right now. Stuart, another 10 gifted memberships to the channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. As always, you're always here doing that. Always here contributing, helping, all of that. So thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you very much, man. As always, it means a lot. It always does. All right, hold on. Let's look at this team for a sec. So Wouldn't sell Bruno for any amount. Yeah, right now I'm kind of with you. Would you sell Bruno if it meant we won the league next season? Sure, but that's kind of not. That's a type of theoretical that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's the type of theoretical that doesn't matter. So like, let's say this is our team right now. If we didn't sign anybody going into next season, okay? Like, let's just say that, for example. Look, if you had no money to spend and no other prospects and nothing. Yeah, we sold Ronaldo and got Obertan, Owen, and Tony V. Yeah, okay. Sold Bruno for a cheeseburger. You might want to go get some lunch. If we had no money, right, then you'd look at this and say, fine. Okay, fine. We would take the 100-something million. And we would have to round out the squad because there's a lot of upgrades you could make, right, with that kind of money. And your attack is dead. It's totally dead, right? It is. However, we don't not have the money. So if you can already do something like this, just with what we have now. Now here's my question for you. Who are you selling Bruno for that is going to make your attack better? I want that question first. I just want that one question answered. Forget the rest of the team. Who are you selling Bruno for and signing that is going to make your attack better now? Right now, based on what we're looking at right there. Who are you selling that is going to make the attack better? I want an answer to that. That first of all. Palmer? Nope. Absolutely not. That's a downgrade. It's a good player, but it's a downgrade. And who says Chelsea are selling? Rodrigo? That's way down. Brian Brobby? Mbumo? That's still a downgrade. It's nice, but that's still a downgrade. It's still a downgrade. It is still a downgrade. You can sign multiple, yeah, but you can't put multiple players in the forward line at the same time. You've already got what you've got. Palmer absolutely is a downgrade on Bruno right now. 100% he is. He is not the same quality that Bruno has and brings to the table from a leadership, from a big game perspective. Wirtz? Is Wirtz coming to us? He's turned down City and Madrid. So how are you going to manage that? Tell me. How are you going to manage that? How are you going to attract Wirtz from Germany for a team in 15th position? Go ahead. And then tell me that he can't flop. These big signings from Germany can't flop. And what happens if he does? Then what happens? What happens if he's another Havertz? Then what happens? Look at the risk involved, right? Musiala. Yeah, that's what you're talking about, though. Like, you have to talk about a completely unrealistic expectations, or you are downgrading the player. He has not played in the pivot the majority of games. You should recheck your numbers. He has not. He has played in the 10 since the break, and he played in the 10 mostly before Lisandro's injury. It was about a month and a half. The Bundesliga tax. Yeah, you want to sign Wirtz? I'm out, man. For that kind of money. I wouldn't go anywhere near any Bundesliga player, attacker for that kind of money. None. I don't care. I like Wirtz, but I wouldn't care. The idea would be to replace him with like 4 people, multiple positions. Yeah, I would agree with that. But you could do that anyway. Because you can sell Garnacho for 50 million and you could go buy the players you need. We don't have the ability to reinvest that on world-class players today. You realize that. We're not getting world-class players. Here's the only thing that I would do, all right? I'll tell you the only thing that would make it worth it for me to sell Bruno. Okay? This is the only thing. I would want enough money to somehow pull this off if we were to sell Bruno. Because that's the only way I think you get a requisite quality into the team. For the money. You're not getting Isak. It's not happening. Good luck. We're not signing Isak. It's not happening. Like, you just name things. This is the point. There's a reality. There's a reality that has to be looked at. We're not getting a lot of the players. It's like you could say, well, we sell Bruno and sign Jude Bellingham. Okay, we're not signing Jude Bellingham. We can't attract that kind of potential this season. We just can't. We cannot. You just can't. I'm sorry. Look, you could say this, right? Like you could say we stick Kobbie Mainoo in here, okay? Fine. This is worse than having Bruno there. You realize that. You've just downgraded the team. You've downgraded the team. You've downgraded the forwards by doing this. This is a worse attack than the one with Delap, Cunha, and Bruno. It's a downgrade. So you haven't gotten better. You've gone sideways. Now, you've improved elsewhere, but you haven't gotten better. But here's the thing about it, though. You don't have to do it anyway. And Mbeumo for Mainoo, yeah, but how are you going to afford him? How are you going to afford him? That's another 60 million on top. Now you're talking about spending 230 million plus 700,000 a week in wages for those three players. You can't afford that. Like, you got to recognize the amount of the quality that would be required in order to make this happen. You know, that is the problem. That is the challenge that we're faced with here. But look, the other factors, there's alternative options. There's alternative options. Okay? Because you have other players to sell. You have Garnacho, you have Xerxes, you have Højlund, you have you have these other players in the squad that you could sell before you look to sell your best player. You could sell Garnacho and afford Adam Wharton. So what's the difference? No, I don't. I wouldn't sell Bruno for Osimhen because financially the problem is there. I would sell someone else for Osimhen. But, you know, I just don't see it. You can place Bruno with multiple players like Mbeumo, Wharton. That's too much already. You've already gone way over the top. You've already gone way over the top of what you can actually spend, realistically. You can play football without Bruno, but why not just sell the other guys? Why not just sell the other players first? We have other ways to raise funds. We've already got them. You know, we already have them. We already have better players. We already have other money. I agree with everything you said, but if they did put the 150 million down, what do you think the club does? I don't know, to be honest. Like, I get it. Yeah, Thuram, maybe you should avoid Twitter if you want us to sign Marcus Thuram and avert your eyes from things. We've been through this road already. You know, it doesn't just work that way. It doesn't just work that way. We have a lot of players that we could sell first. And like my point is that our limitation, Bruno isn't 25 anymore, he's 31, now is the best time. I get that. Our limitation is not money, okay? Like, I know that it feels that it is. Our limitation is not necessarily money. It's not a one-off money problem. It's sustainability, okay? Like, you just have to understand this season, next season, the following season. It's about sustainability. Right now, just bear in mind, right now, today, just think about it this way. I mean it. Right now, on today, Bruno is free. Free. Bear that in mind. He's free. He's already amortized. And he's the best 10 in the world. On 250,000 a week. Okay? Forget the money we could get for him one time. All right? Forget the money we could get from one time. Right now, he's free. He costs nothing. He is free. You understand that? Like how this works in terms of the long-term future. He costs us 10 million a year for the best player in the world in his position right now. Okay? You can only sell him one time. then you're paying for that every single year. Then you're paying for that every single year. And you're for the next 5 years, you're paying for that. He's not 350,000 a week. It's Musiala or Wirtz. Okay, I'm glad you feel that way, but I don't agree in the slightest. I don't agree with in the slightest. We already can add players. You get Rashford, Sancho, Anthony, Højlund, Garnacho, Xerxes, Cass out the door. Exactly. It's like, oh my god, like you could sell Garnacho and let Casemiro go for his 350,000 a week, and you could already get it. Yeah, and then there's a good point, Fez. Good point. Imagine we sell Bruno for 150 million. Now imagine we go to Crystal Palace and say, hey, we want Adam Wharton. How much do you think they're going to charge us? Now imagine you go to, I don't fucking know. You go to Brentford and ask for Mbuma. How much are they going to charge us? What do you think? Every single cent that we have, they're going to take from us in that case. You know, it's really funny because people always think this way. They always think this way, and we've all been there. We're all there all the time, right? The biggest mistakes most clubs have made have been the big sales and big buys, right? Look at Barcelona. They made big sales and big buys, and none of it worked. They had Griezmann, they had Coutinho, they made all these replacements for Neymar, and they blew all of it. And what has saved them? Their academy after all that. You know, it's like, it's just not, it doesn't quite work out all that way. And it's something that's changed my mind a lot of times over the years. Dembele, like, my mind has changed many, many times over this aspect, where it's like the number of hits when you actually sell a big player and end up going and buying is so low, man. It's so low. The success rate is very low. It's like, to me, it's more of a bird in the hand, you know, than anything else. You know, it's a bird in the hand more than anything else. A large fee could pay off this. This is not going to happen. We're not selling Bruno and using the money to pay down the Glazers' debt. Like, are you crazy? I'm not saying you, but like, come on, man. Like, imagine if we did that. Players can decide what the price is. That's just not true. That's just not how. That's just not real. You know, it's just not real. These things are just not realistic. But you know, if you sold him and spread the money around, fine. Who could you get? Let's say you got Ederson in there. Let's say we didn't make Champions League or whatever. What are you even adding? Like what are you even adding with the money? That's what I'm trying to think about. Like, it's not about backing it. It's like, why would you sell him? Wharton and Ederson? Sure. Let's say you did that. Okay. Yeah, Spurs sold Kane, 30 years old, right? Frimpong, right wing back? Absolutely not. That's just made us worse. Absolutely not. Frimpong has no place in this team or at United. None. He's not good enough in the slightest. I'd rather have Ahmad out there any day. Oh shit, I forgot. What are you putting in the attack? You've already spent more than what you can spend though, so we're done. Oh yeah, now we have a hole here. All right. So now this is all right, here we go. This is what we've done. This is what we've done. All right. Now we've sold Bruno to fix our pivot. Congratulations. Is this a better team? I don't think so. I don't think so. I genuinely don't. But there's more to it than that. Maybe it's a slightly better team. Maybe. But is it good enough? No. And then what do you have? What else could you have done instead? Why didn't you just sell Garnacho? Why didn't you just move Casemiro out? It's a better team? I'm not convinced. It might look like a better team on paper, but I'm not convinced it's actually better. And you've already spent 160 million to do it. I'm not actually convinced that is a better team than what we were looking at before. It's younger. Swap Ahmad for Dalot. You can't afford Mbumo. You can't afford Mbumo. How are you affording Mbumo? How are you affording that? You can't afford that. All you've done is swap Bruno for Wharton. Exactly. Exactly. No, because we have Ederson in here. All I'm getting at is like again, all you have to do instead. All you gotta do instead is keep a Bruno. All you gotta do is keep Bruno. And sell Garnacho, and you'll move on Casemiro later. We're not gonna get Wharton anyway, by the way. It's not happening. So you can forget that. You can just forget it. It's not happening regardless this summer. So all you got to do is keep Bruno. Yeah, we're not getting Wharton anyway. So, forget it. But maybe we get, we move Garnacho, we get Chukwuemeka, we get other players, all of that. I'm just saying, you got to understand, it's just not that simple. You're not getting as much as you think for selling one player. We're just not going to get what you think out of it. I don't know what else to say about it, right? I think people are looking at 170 million and thinking it stretches a lot further. And we're not going to get 170 million. A record offer would be 120, okay? A record offer would be 120, right? But then you have to factor in the wages. And everything that goes into that for the future, because you've replaced a free player with one that has amortization. You know that Ugarte has as many assists as Garnacho this season? And he has, I think, the third most assists in a team? That's funny. Also has 3 in the last 2 games and was fundamental to us winning away in Bilbao, but it's okay. It's okay. Keep insulting him. Keep insulting him. While he still wins us big games. Well, he's one of our best players in Europe. Keep insulting him. Yeah. He got 6 assists on the season. But keep insulting him. Keep insulting him. Yeah. Yeah, I think people are timesing it by 5, but it's not going to work that way. It's not going to work that way. I understand it's pure profit. You cannot just spend all of that forever. You just can't. If you let's say you sold them for 100 million, okay? Let's say you sold them for 100 million. Surely 120 million gets you Gyökeres and Mastantuono. Sure. Okay. Let's say you did that. All right. Okay. All right. So let's say that's the case. Let's say that's the case. Okay. Let's say that you did that. Is that better? Nope. Mastantuono's 17, man. Come on. He'll be 18 in August. It's not better. It's a good team. It's a good team. I like it. But can I propose an alternative? Can I propose just a little alternative? It's not better. It's not better. Can I propose you just a little bit of an alternative here? What if you just kept Bruno and sold somebody else so you can afford Gyökeres? Then you're even better. Now it's even better. And you can still go get Mastantuono on that basis, and you could actually give him time to develop. let's just be real here for a minute. This is fine. And then how about you sell the players not on the screen? Exactly, because I think we're just overrating stuff. I think we're just overrating stuff. That's all. And we could go on and on forever, but let's poll it, okay? Let's poll it. I'm curious on people's thoughts. I'm curious on people's thoughts. I really, really am, because I genuinely don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority here. I'm serious. Yeah, 120 million to sell Bruno's fine until you realize we've sold Bruno. I would not have felt this way before, but I'm just like you have a free player right now who is probably doing better than anybody we could sign. I would rather, the point I'm making is I would rather sell many, many, many other people than him. You know what I'm saying? That's my point. That's my point. I would rather sell many, many other players than him, right? He's like the last player in the squad I would sell. Why can't you go try to sell Diogo Dalot? Why can't you go to try to sell Garnacho? Why can't you go try to sell, some young players? Why can't you go try to move Casemiro on? Why can't you, there's so many people you could sell to raise money for this window. Why do you even have to talk about Bruno? Why is it even a discussion? But then we're never going to replace all those players in one window. That doesn't work that way anyway. We might as well replace them in multiple windows. You not just replace, like Chelsea is an example of this. They changed like 12, 15 players and it didn't make them any better. It's not always that simple. It's just not always. It's not all about the money. I can't get behind it. For me, like I said, this is my view, but you just can't get. I just can't get behind it right now. If we sold everybody else, then we would get all we needed anyway. Money doesn't do everything for you. It's like it just doesn't. City could spend whatever they want this year. It's not all hits, You don't have 100% hit rate on these signings. Yeah, I think this is a fair reflection of the community. I think this is a fair reflection. Bruno sold at 150 million. Yeah, well, I think it's a fair reflection. But look, if you want to talk about a realistic one, well, why not move the other players on and do this season, right? Why not just do this season? Sell a few other players that we can. Run with this for a season. We're not winning the title next year. No matter who we sign, we're not winning the title next season. You understand that? So run with this for a season. Keep improving. Keep getting better. Then I don't know the names you would sign at center back, because the problem with the discussion is no matter who I stick in one of these names, people are going to complain about it. But what about then next season? Next season, maybe you can get Wharton in a center back. Just do it over 2 years. Just build the team properly over 2 years. It's not a 1-year deal anyway. Give it time. Let it develop. Let it improve. Let it go somewhere. Just build it smoothly. You don't necessarily need chaos. We haven't lost anything. We have a free player. It's not, you have to replace him. You understand that? You have to replace him. It's not free. Like, you haven't lost anything. You have to replace these guys. You know, you've got to replace them. You got to replace them anyway in the next 3 years. Yes, but then you have 3 or 4 years to do it, to get players in, to develop, to do well. You know, it's not that easy. It's just not, man. It's just not that easy. You know, you can look at so many clubs, they haven't replaced them. I mean, let's take Real Madrid, for example. Okay? They just brought in Mbappe. They just brought in Mbappe. Look at all the players that they've bought. They're worse. They are worse. They're worse than when they had Benzema. They're worse. You know, like they're not better. It's not that easy. It doesn't always equate to that way. You know, it's never a guarantee. It's really not. Like, you guys, when people suggest selling Wirtz and things like that, well, they've essentially bought him with the amount of money that they spent. It's not that easy. Yeah, Madrid didn't replace Benzema. City have not replaced Mahrez. They haven't replaced KVB. Rodri gets injured. They fall down. Like, this happens, man. It's not that simple. Yes, Ayrton, I completely agree with that. You buy Mastantuono now, and then you have a Bruno replacement in 3 years. Exactly. Because that's what I would do. I would sell, like, I would do this right now, all right? I would work out how to make this summer happen, okay? I would work out how to make this summer happen, okay? Get Mastantuono in, get a better striker than Liam Delap, and change your keeper, and get another midfielder in. If you have to sell Garnacho to do it, fine. If you have to sell Dalot to do it, fine. If you have to sell other players to do it, Rashford and Antony and Sancho and all those guys, fine. If you get Champions League, then you don't have to do that anyway. You could get Champions League and sell one player and afford this. You realize that. Like, if we get Champions League, we could do Gyökeres and Mastantuono anyway. So then you need one sale to get Ederson and your keeper. Right? You do this for 1 year. You do this year, and you run with this team. Now you have someone like Mastantuono to learn from Bruno, to see if they're the right guy to get there, instead of potentially just wasting enormous amounts of money. Then the next season, you can address more in the midfield and the center backs, and you build a balanced team. But that's the point. Like, you can just do it. Just build it without selling Bruno. We don't have to do it. We really don't. You know, and we could just build a balanced team in the long term. And then the next year, Casemiro leaves, and you get a huge amount of money there. In terms of wages freed up and all of that. You know, it's fine. For next season, this team's good. And it gives you the long term to continue to learning off of and continue having leadership. I just think that people are underrating the lack of leadership, and I'll tell you why. Can you imagine our season without Harry Maguire? In addition to Bruno as a leader? With how bad it has been, as bad as it has been, can you imagine it without a couple of leaders like Maguire and Bruno in the team? Can you imagine how bad it would have gotten this season? I think we'd be relegated, no joke. Genuinely, with the injuries and the things that we've had, I think we'd be relegated. We also would not be in the Europa League. We would be knocked out ages ago. It would be so... We wouldn't even be having these discussions right now without the leadership that they've brought in key moments. Casemiro, too, to be fair, in the Europa League in particular. Like, it has literally been a few people bailing us out from disaster across the board. Disaster that they've bailed us out from. You know, that's the issue. It's like, it's not that easy, man. It's just not that easy. Because it's just not that easy. And even though we've been bad, it could have been so much worse, honestly. I think it's underestimated just how bad things can get. um, it really is underestimated just how bad things can get. And the only reason we can even discuss this is because we have potentially a chance at winning Europa League. So anyway, I'm going to move on from the topic now. I think that most everybody is on the same page. I think most everybody is on the same page, which is that I'd rather, like, why don't we just sell other people first? That's my view on it. I don't even want to discuss it unless we sell other people, because we have other options to sell to raise the money to rebuild this club. We have them. I think we would lose the calmness and the leadership in the team by losing him. But I would like to buy a backup for Bruno. His long-term replacement in Mastantuono, I think, would be super important, because I think that gives you a replacement and time, importantly, and time to replace him. You know what I mean? In the long run, it gives you that time. Yeah, I mean, Modric, what did he win? He won a Ballon d'Or probably at an age when he should have been finished. Just saying, Imagine if they had said he was finished 6 years ago and just sold him. Modric is 39. When did he win the Ballon d'Or? 2018. Okay, so he won the Ballon d'Or at what, 32, 33 years old? Imagine if they said at 31, we'll just sell him. They wouldn't have done what they did in the three-peats and in these things without those types of things. We have time. We have time to get good. Modric was trophyless in his late 20s. Yeah. Well, they could have cashed in on Modric at 31, and what would have happened, Who knows? So yeah, I would rather sell other people. No doubt about that. I will never get over that. In terms of strikers, in terms of strikers, obviously we are looking at alternatives to Liam Delap. In terms of forwards, we're looking at alternatives to Liam Delap. We had Delap could very much go somewhere else. He really could. He could go somewhere else. We know we could miss out on him. And so the stories on like Mbumo and all of that are certainly in line with that aspect. We're also definitely looking at, it's really interesting, the thing from Santi saying that we met with Victor Osimhen. So on an Osimhen's basis, we've got it pretty strongly, right, with Ornstein and otherwise, that we're not going to be going for Victor Osimhen. When you look at the wages that are mentioned in there, he says 12 million euros. That's an enormous amount of money if that's net, which is usually how that's stated, and that essentially would explain why it's sort of a non-issue to us. Because it would cost about 400,000 a week in pounds. Obviously, it's really difficult for us to go to that kind of level of wages because of how it affects the entire structure. Our top paid players, after we're shifting everybody, and we know Casemiro's contract is not an example here, are like 200,000 plus bonuses. So you're talking about needing 300,000. You're starting to bump everybody up. You're starting to bump absolutely everybody up. And that's a serious concern. Yeah, that point on Evan Ferguson is a big one. A little while ago, people were clamoring we could sign Evan Ferguson for 70, 80, 100 million. Jesus Christ, man. Like, yeah. So there's that. But it is interesting he mentions Gyökeres again. And look, Ruben Amorim made his comments because he was asked about whether Gyökeres would join based on Champions League and all that. And he obviously said very correctly that we're not going to get people just because they want Champions League or something like that, right? Essentially, like, if you want Champions League, then we're not going to sign you. We never really got it totally sure. Is it, is the Gyökeres thing key for us to afford him or for him? Okay, like if you look at the original thing there, it just says it's Champions League is important for it to be possible, and we kind of know that aspect of it. If Gyökeres was possible to happen, because if we get Champions League and it's about us being able to afford him, then surely it would be a good one to take, right? Surely it would be a good one to go for. I would much prefer it to Delap, right? The question becomes like, it is a little weird, this whole discussion. Like, if they're all waiting for Champions League, then what do we even do in that case? This is my point on even connecting to the Bruno thing. If it's not that easy to replace it, because what striker do you even go for? You can go for unproven ones like a Katike, Sheshko, which I think would be a massive mistake, and others, and you're going to end up spending 70, 80 million on those players, and you may get worse. You may not get anything out of them. I mean, look at Højlund and all of that kind of stuff, right? So we may, do we compromise on this a little bit? Or is that why we turn to someone like, Brian Mbeumo? Because that's what I think. I think that we turn to someone like Mbeumo and understanding how they think, and understanding them getting a couple of 2 goal scorers in. You bring in someone like Mbeumo, you're getting goals out of him. You add him to the team, you're getting goals, you're getting creativity, you're getting somebody who can deal with the Premier League. And you can easily play Bruno, Cunha, and Mbeumo together with Cunha down the middle. You can easily play Cunha, Xerxes, and Mbeumo with Xerxes in that kind of false 9 and Bruno deep. There's a lot of things you can do, especially with Ahmad at the right wing back to assist in the creativity. There's a lot of things you can do in mixing and matching that team to make it all fit. And that way, at least you are getting some danger and getting some goals. You still need a striker? 100%. 100%. The next season, you should still be looking at the striker, but I think it would carry you with enough productivity to significantly improve where we're at. Because this isn't a one-season project, right? We're not going to fix everything in 1 year. We need another forward anyway. We need another attacker anyway, right? So if we have to get somebody who's not a natural striker and mix it up a little bit for a season and then get back into a better position and then next year be able to spend on a striker, that's good with me. That's fine with me. That is totally okay. That is an acceptable way of going about things as well. So I think that's one of the things that's definitely under consideration right now is if we cannot get the striker we want, then go for somebody else. I like the idea of Mateta as well. The question is he worth 60 million, 55 million, something like that, that they would bring in. Bring Barcola. Yeah, do you have the money for him, right? You'd have to spend your entire Bruno money on Barcola, and then maybe. I think Mateta would make a very good player for us, but I think he would help us a lot. There's no doubt about that. But he's expensive. He would be very expensive. I'd be happy with a Mateta, Cunha, Bruno front three, but it would cost a fair chunk of change. So that is a definite consideration in all of this. But they're looking for 2 goal scorers. Yeah, that is about what they're going to ask for. Truthfully. Yeah, the thing you have to bear in mind, I would say, with that Liverpool. With that Liverpool thing is when they sold Coutinho, they were able to buy players in positions where they had nobody, and it improved them, right? Like when you look at their attacking options in the front line and at the back, it was disastrous, right? Bruno's already in the attacking line, In some ways, they downgraded in their midfield, but they just went to hard workers. They went with. Don't forget, like they really just it was similar in a Liverpool style of way to the way we're building, where they just had grafters in the middle. So they didn't need Coutinho with the way that they played. They didn't need him. We need Bruno because our creativity is not coming from the midfield, same as them, but they didn't sell a top class, right winger to get Mo Salah. They sold someone in a position that wasn't that important to yeah, they had right. They sold a player in a position that wasn't that important to Klopp's system. You understand the difference. They sold someone who wasn't that important to Klopp's system to replace him. That's why it's not a like for like thing. It'd be like City saying, "Oh, we're going to sell Rodri to round out the rest of the team." That doesn't work because you're going to have to replace Rodri with a player of requisite quality in the same position to make the whole thing work. We can't sell Bruno because if Bruno was a deep midfielder, truly, we probably would be willing to sell him. Amram would too, because it's not how he plays, but he's not. He's a creative midfielder who plays as mostly a forward who drops in, and we're going to need that exact position if we sell him. We need Hobbs and Shaw and Beaumont. So yeah, those are good players, but so we have to. In the striker front, we're looking at these alternatives because we need to add more goals to the front team. Coutinho is a luxury. Yeah, exactly. Is there anything at all the Campos talk? No, they're happy with the setup that they have. So anyway, we're looking still at two forwards because Delap is far from from a sure thing for us. Yeah, Mane and Firmino are more important. Exactly. There is a big difference. They sold a luxury player for a lot of money. It's not a luxury. So yeah. Regardless, we're looking at these alternatives to Delap, and Mbumo is a part of it. Gyökeres is a part of it. The other unnamed European striker, I don't know. I really don't. But one could say it's Šeško, or one could say it's Ekitike or something like that. But I don't know. If Palace wanted 40 for Mateta, no, because the wages are hugely different there, Lawrence. They're way different there. Yeah, I can't remember the last time there's so few top, and that's part of the problem here, right? Like, there's so few strikers out there that your options are basically bet on a really expensive young player, like Aghawa, Šeško, Ekitike, something like that, right? Or spend way too much with one of the only proven ones like Osimhen, which I would still do if you would accept more reasonable wages. Gyökeres and Osimhen are like your only proven strikers. Delap is basically your only affordable young prospect. There's not a lot of options here, man. So I wouldn't be, if we miss out, you kind of have to be willing to be flexible. You have to be willing to go for like a Mbumo or Mastantuono, and just add quality elsewhere instead of forcing the issue. No doubt about that. And that's what United are looking at. Or you go to an older, more experienced one like Watkins, like Patrick Schick, like something like that, and hopefully have more money to spend elsewhere also. And then you're still in the market for a striker later, but that's fine. But that's essentially what their thinking is on this, is to say, if we can't get the ideal guy, that's fine. There's not a ton of options. We might have to get creative and just add goals and be flexible in the way that we approach the system and the team. So that's what they're doing. And there's definite weight to the Mbumo talk. And I sure wouldn't write that off. But in addition to that, Vardy for a season, I mean, I'd take that anyway, but I still think you have to sign someone on top of that. Moving on to goalkeeper, and this is one of the other areas. Is this as I've shared all year, United have been in the market for a goalkeeper. It's not even necessarily to replace Onana. It could be replacing Bayindir. At the start of the season, the goal was to get somebody to compete with Onana. Well, Vanya Milinkovic-Savic is very much in that vein, I would suggest, of a player who could compete with Onana. He is, and give you a good top class, maybe number 2, maybe number 1, in terms of he provides safe hands, a good good shot stopper, big size, and can give you some security and stability at the back, and that's what he's good at. Um, so I know, as I've said all year, that the striker, that the goalkeeper is a priority, that we're interested in him. He's one of the best shot stoppers in Europe, and he's huge. I mean, he's 6'7", 6'8", something crazy like that. 28 years old and everything, and you just get him in. You just do. You just. I think it's obviously he's not the only option. He's not the only option on the table. But he's a good option. Affordable, reliable, safe hands, short pass accuracy. I don't know. It kind of always depends on build up and things like that. You won't get bullied on corners and set pieces. He's not slow to come off his line as well either. But he makes good saves. He was at the academy and he couldn't get a work permit back in the day. The fee apparently is 20 million, 25, something like that. So, you're talking about if you move by India for 5-6 million, that's one you can afford to do and get in there. And I think it would make a big difference for the security of United to get a keeper like him in and have another good option on the table. Again, to compete with Onana, to bench Onana, it's fine, because you don't have the certainty that Onana will go or anything like that. Yeah, in 2025 in Euros, something like that. I don't think I have Lamans on there just because of the league that he's in. So those are possible. Yeah, Arsenal screwed if we do that. Yeah, the set pieces. So, so that's a good one. I think we'll definitely be looking to do that. A deal like that. He's not the only one. Obviously, we've spoken about other names like Joan Garcia. We've spoken about James Trafford. We've spoken about some of these other guys, but this is a good option. This is a good option that I think we could certainly get, and that I'm very happy to see it confirmed by somebody other than myself, who is very reliable in Fabrizio, that we are looking at keepers, and because Amarim wants safe hands, and I've said that for a long time, and it's been a lot of denials and a lot of people saying otherwise, but just like a few years ago, I know for certain we're looking at keepers. We've probably yapped enough. It's already over an hour, and I think that people are going to head off to watch the Champions League game here in a minute, myself included, so I won't yap too much more. We should hear something soon on our plans, but realistically, until our Europe campaign is done, we probably won't get too much more finalized. But yeah, the biggest thing we're waiting for is decisions on Delap and things like that. Pure profit when Mason Greenwood changes clubs too. Yeah, and it's profit on the sale, but if they sell him for 50 million, we can get another 15, 20 million there, 10 million there. Again, that's kind of my point. There's more money to be made without selling Bruno Fernandes that could allow us to get the things that we can do. But yeah, what we're really all we're waiting for now is Delap's decision matters. We're checking out alternative in the meantime. I don't think Cunha there's any issues, except we just wait until we've kind of finished our things to get it formalized. Do another one of those Excel numbers. Yeah, and I could do that and demonstrate why it's not that great to sell Bruno, like why it gives you some space in the short term. But all of that, gone quiet on Cunha, I wouldn't worry about it. The season is still going. There's nothing wrong with the deal, all of that. The club's training ground refresh is going good. We will probably, we're supposed to get there by the time July rolls around, basically. So we're going to have to wait and see on Delap and what he decides, but we're still checking out these alternatives in the meantime to that. And those are the priorities. And then it's fully dependent. After two attackers, it's fully dependent. Sales and Champions League. And that's what we need to know. Before we find out anything else, that's what we need to know. Sales and Champions League. Champions League will probably know more first, and that will give us the opportunity to make more deals. Because if we get Champions League, then we can start to look at those next step signings in addition, like Ederson, who I think we would probably go for next after the first 2 attackers if we get Champions League. Center back will become an option again, given the injury to Delap. He should be having scans and things today, so we'll probably find out in the next couple of days how serious it is. And if it is super serious, then obviously we have to address it. Against Bilbao, interestingly enough, it looks like all 3 of their forwards are out. Nico Williams, Inaki Williams, and Sanket still. Sanset, maybe is how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. But they're all out, essentially. So, yes, we're up 3-0. We're also facing a team in the second leg here who's going to be without their 3 main forwards at home. I mean, there's no excuses. It is what it is. I don't know how you pronounce it. Sunset? I don't know. They are all out. Inaki Williams, the uninjurable, somehow got an injury. Nico Williams is not in training, and Sunset is out. He's been out, so crazy that. But I wouldn't. I'm not saying they're gonna throw the game, but I don't know. They're in a competition for top 4 in their league, aren't they? Like they're here. Yeah, they're in 4th in a tight race with a few games to go. Just a few points ahead. So I'll be honest and say that I wouldn't be particularly surprised if they focus on the league and rotate a little bit here, because they have a route in the Champions League via the league. They're in that position. You know what I mean? So it kind of makes sense for them. Betis are hot on their tail. It kind of makes sense for them to focus on the league themselves. They have a much better chance of getting into Champions League that way. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to end it there. I did a video this morning. You can obviously catch up on everything there. We discussed a lot of the same stuff as we did here. This a lot of discussion. Seen Savage a few times. Seems a solid pair of hands. Exactly. I remember I keep saying that. Safe hands. That's what Amram wanted. And Savage makes a ton of sense for that. So thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Enjoy the Champions League. I'm going to flip over now and watch that myself. Enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate you all. Have a good one. And I will be back tomorrow. And then Thursday, I don't think I'll have a video. Kind of depends. I'm traveling. I may get something before the game, and then I'll be live for the watch along, but I'll try to get something done before